We are here at the Sejong University Convention Center once again. It's me, Valdez, with Papa. And game number one was a bit of a doozy. It was action non-stop, basically. Two very strong team compositions that went head-to-head. I feel like the pick and ban was really competitive, into the game being extremely competitive. This is exactly what we wanted for this final spot.
And people asked us, Valdez, they came up to us, both individually and together, and said, what are you doing on New Year's? And we said, well, we've got a broadcast. We've got an esports final. And, you know, around the world, there's going to be ball drops. There's going to be fireworks. And then we got game one between GRIFFIN and Gen.G, and there's only going to be more. Sometimes esports is at the perfect time, and this final is feeling like it's building to something very, very special. The first game wasn't flawless, but honestly, you feel each other out when it comes to opponents on a grand final stage, because it's different, right? On a grand final stage, even though everyone's still on a computer using their own peripherals, does change things, and you do see some mistakes, and I think the GRIFFIN were fortunate to pick up this first game victory. Part of it was being clutch, and other part of it was just chance, I think. The chance find of Peanut on the first Baron. That was more than they expected, and they got a bigger benefit there. I think both teams will definitely learn things from the first game, and I'm learning that even if it comes true, even if it is a 3-0 to GRIFFIN, this series is more competitive than it was when I first glanced.
Yeah, I mean, Gen.G proving that they're not just going to fall over like Damwon. They're saying, hey, we are on kind of another tier, whereas at the end of that Damwon versus GRIFFIN series, we were saying, I mean, GRIFFIN are just on a much different tier. It doesn't even look like, you know, they're both in the LCK at the point, just because GRIFFIN was playing so strongly and dominating them so hard.
And Damwon was out of it, right? Damwon was running it down one by one just to give extra kills. It was something 11 deaths Urgot or something. Like, that was a team broken. But GRIFFIN does that because they're just so dogged. It doesn't matter what you think about the game. It doesn't. Again, I was talking about how they like kind of take analysis to one side and throw it away. It's because they don't look at their picks and think, oh, yes, we have an early game comp. Oops, it's 30 minutes. We screwed up. We can't win. They say, what does a perfect wombo combo look like? And we found that out in that first GRIFFIN game against Afrika with Sion, full channel of the Q into the Galio, 8 seconds of CC, and from a deficit, at least on paper in terms of team comps, they fought back from that. In this game, it was a really tricky one to execute against 3 Infernal Drakes, but they get that pick because they have a bit of magic around them, both in terms of a 5-man unit, and here, Lahens, who's one of the players we've criticized the most, he's died 2v2 in lane quite a lot, especially during the summer season. He comes in with 2 God players on the Thresh, and suddenly, they're game 1 winners.
Yeah, I mean, the draft was an interesting one, too, because we had our Cassiopeia come through for Viper in the bottom side.
What is your take? Because now, again, we see Cassiopeia and it wins, but you have to mention it feels fortunate in the victory. We're going to show some highlights here. There's a couple of key moments. This was Peanut being in the wrong place at the wrong time. He wanted to take blue, but Zoe wasn't from the rush. He said, I'll just check the Baron, I guess. And, oh boy, that was unfortunate timing for Peanut. That was when GRIFFIN's vice grip on the game started, but they definitely threw it back. They definitely lost out in some moments. They tried to have their cake, eat it too, write about it, you know, review it on Yelp, but they did a lot of things right because they got the free bot lane inhibitor, which was a smart move, playing around the fact that Urgot just wanted to ignite someone to cycle his teleport.
Desperately.
And they got the bot lane inhibitor, but then they were like, ooh, I'll stop Baron as well, and it got too technical, and that's where we thought maybe Gen.G could win this game 1.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about it before, just looking at the Cassiopeia build, they get the Baron, but the steal comes in, and I wonder what would have happened even if the steal doesn't come in, because Viper's out of mana, Tovi's out of mana, everybody's out of mana. I think still Gen.G win the fight and just go on to you know, a fantastic play. So it's just
pause it here, Valdez, with timestamp on. This is the moment that GRIFFIN threw the game. Is kind of the first thing anyone would take if they hadn't seen with their own eyes that 2 godlike death sentences would lead to the victory the other way. So that was a moment where GRIFFIN made a mistake, where they did too much, where they were too bold. And it's good to see that they're still competitive. Again, like if they came through an 8-0 KeSPA Cup and every game looked like the Damwon series, then that's a very cool story, because then every time they play next year, you're like, we're watching potentially the champions elect.
Who can beat them, basically.
Exactly. And we might still be saying that, but it's nice to have moments where this wasn't that clean, where that was a mistake. The team has only played 1 split. You're not supposed to master League of Legends in your first split. The closest we ever got was 2015 SKT, and that was at Worlds where they almost perfected Worlds.
Yeah.
I believe that's 18-0. They got very, very close. It was 17-1 in the end, so they did drop a game. Oh, 18-1 to Coop Tigers in the final.
Yeah.
But that was with a whole year's Genesis. That was with 2 SKT rosters who've been in the same team house for years. GRIFFIN is still mostly a team that's been together for a year. It's kind of one split because Chovy wasn't playing as a starter, and Chovy has impacted the team. It was rather in Challenger and also right at the start of LCK Summer, but that's the analyst segment done. There's an analyst desk on the Korean side. You get more Papa and Valdez.
Yeah.
Maybe even a podcast later. We're talking about a lot of video games right now, but I'm ready to talk about a second video game. I know that if I was awarding MVPs for game number 1, my 2 votes would go straight to Lens.
Lens for sure. That Thresh now just raises more questions. You got to be scared sometimes about his Morgana, about some other picks for him, but now he brings out another one when we were expecting that bottom lane to be so scary. And giving over the Cassiopeia as well. I mean, one death sentence comes in and you're thinking, hey, maybe I can cleanse Flash out of that one. Well, no, because you're on miasma, and now you're dead. So a deadly bottom lane comes in, and, well, not much that bottom lane could do, it seemed like, and especially towards the end even. So guys, no roster change comes in for game number 2. No Cabby, no anyone else.
I don't think we will see one. I think we'll probably see these rosters play every game. There's always an argument if you go 2-0 down to roll the dice and just throw a Roach out there, but I don't think QV was the problem in this game at all. It was attacking top side where Gen.G found their meaningful leads in the first half of the game. The hot packs are out. It is still blisteringly cold in Seoul, but it's oh so hot on the Rift for game number 2.
Game number 2 comes in with the pick and ban. This time, Gen.G will elect to be on blue. So there you have it. We will have same sides once again. We'll see how the bans go along.
And probably for the whole tournament, especially if GRIFFIN wins game 2, because they have side selection coming into game number 3. Johnny S. Late, patch 824B. Nico globally banned for some visual bugs around her disguising and appearing as the champion and lingering, and Xin globally banned for doing too much ult damage. Speaking of bans, the Scion is going to actually be the new ban on the side of Gen.G. Like Scion, too much to handle, and the Urgot is the responding ban, so Akali is open for QV.
And Cassiopeia.
Which one we taken first? The answer is Akali. It has been QV's Ultra Comfort. We came in looking at solo queue saying 30% win rate, but it was his most played. He's looked fantastic on the Akali in pro games, both in his timings and even in his mechanics in little skirmishes.
Feels so good too, because you ban out that Jace, which was a real problem for that lane. QV is going to look to run away with this game. They don't even mind giving away the Cassiopeia. It's hard, but still it feels better to have that Akali.
So, we'll see what GRIFFIN want to pick up here. They will take the Cassio, but this time maybe they will be incentivized to put it elsewhere. Waiting to see. Taliyah comes through this time. The Taliyah ban was very curious from Gen.G in the first game, and that's not a curious lock-in, though. We're going to see them hover the Aurelia, locking in, and Aurelia versus Akali could be our top lane matchup.
The Korean casters oohing and ahhing about that one, as it was banned in the second phase by Gen.G, but this time around it gets picked early by GRIFFIN, especially because so many top laners were banned out. The big ones, you know, Urgot, Scion, Aatrox, Jace, taken away.
But it's a champion that hasn't been winning much. 1-4 is Aurelia, second most contested champion in the KeSPA Cup. We saw the top lane matchup, and it's one that historically Akali's always been really good in, is the Aurelia matchup, even through a couple of evolutions of the kits. Gen.G, they are hovering the same Shaco that we saw Tarzan hovering in our previous series, so don't know what the Shaco hovers are about. Maybe a bit of trolling. No trolling about the Lissandra, though, and it's also a pick into Akali historically that's actually going to be taken away by Gen.G.
Good into Akali, good against Aurelia as well, just able to essentially shut that down with Aftershock. Especially once you hit level 6, you can survive for quite a long time in that lane at least. And the victor is going to come out here once again for the side of Sword, feeling pretty good about that top side, but it'll be interesting to see how it goes up against Akali.
Oh, where it goes, Valdez. That's a lot of flex picks on the side of GRIFFIN. I feel like they've ordered 5 dishes for dinner and they're going to decide much later who's getting what. You can't get a little bit of each. You got to choose one, and where they select to put them will heavily influence what the lane matchups look like. You could take Victor bot lane and just push in Ezreal. That's something you could do. So anything here could happen for the side of Griffin, because once again, they're going to have a lot of short-range threats, and because Peanut's best Cinderhulk jungler over the whole course of his career is the Zac. I like the Zac ban here. Do Gen.G ban away Sejuani? No. They're going to start with a ban on the Thresh.
Thresh cast, as I said before, it's just so hard to deal with, because even if you immediately cleanse, you're still going to be on miasma. And look at the response ban here. Nocturne gets taken away from Peanut after game 1.
Feels like Lee Sin is the very obvious pick here for Gen.G in particular when it comes to fallbacks. Sejuani versus Lee Sin. The Kha'Zix priority, because it was a Kha'Zix performance from Tarzan where he made some key moments kind of on the corner of the screen, but we didn't actually see a dominance from Tarzan. It wasn't a masterclass like it was in some of those previous games. So Griffin will want to hold these flexes for as long as possible. What information are they willing to grab? You'd imagine jungle will be taken here just to keep the flexes as multi-lane as possible. CV Max talking to his coach, and the Sejuani will almost certainly be the pickup here for Viper. There it is.
There it is. Again, he said in the interview after the games against Stomach, he said, this isn't, you know, a response really. I think this is just still a good pick, said Tarzan, and he's going to rate it very highly, especially with all the jungle bans that come out this time around again.
And while there's a lot of information about Sejuani's future rework, this is pre-rework. This is just nerfed Sejuani on patch 824B. Zooming in to Gen.G. Ooh, Ezreal time catch. No analysis required. Super safe lane that can rotate around. The moment that Ezreal gets 2 items, takes bot lane. Tardy's mid lane and Abyssal Voyage helps them with the rotations. Jungle blind, you have to think Lee Sin, right? So no profit required. Sejuani versus Lee Sin is very much the expected jungle matchup. I just need Griffin to stop playing damn musical chairs and let me know where the hell we're going.
Aurelia support? Question mark?
It's happened before. 2-1 on it. 2017, different Aurelia, blah, blah, blah. What we doing, Griffin?
What's it going to be? Could think about Morgana, could think about Alistar.
Okay.
Those are the two ones that seem to be poking their heads out, and the Alistar comes out. You notice that there was no Tom Kench ban on the side of Griffin in the second round. They were like, no, it's okay to let them have it. We just don't want to deal with Nocturne or Zac once again. And then they say, okay, you're going to take Tom Kench. We can just get onto the Alistar. You're not going to ban it out. And so instead of the Thresh, we'll have another type of engaging support anyway.
Waiting to see the final matchups here. There's no guarantee any of these 3 champions won't find their way into the bot lane. So 20 seconds is where that needs to be official. A lot of analysis on what you want, but it's all about lane pressure. They're going to settle on Aurelia mid lane against Lissandra. Good blocker lane to the Aurelia, but Aurelia does outscale Lissandra in terms of side lane impact in the 1v1. Gotta say, it's very difficult post-6 for Victor to not get all in with any sort of jungle attention here, so it could be a rinse and repeat on the top side. And a much more hodgepodge duo lane. It's not a ranged laner with the Cassio, it's the Alistar this time around, so there's much more potential that things could be more competitive in the bot side. Ruler and Life had to vacate after the 2v2 death with no jungle intervention in game number 1. I expect this to be more of a farm lane unless Tarzan shows up and does something creative.
Yeah, I was about to say that. It's really up to Tarzan after level 6 to come down. You know, you can combo a lot with the Sejuani ultimate, the engage from Alistar, and of course miasma. Tom Kench is going to die at the very least. You can see what happens. You know, maybe Chovy makes his way down, some kind of dive, but we'll have to wait and see exactly where the pressure will start in this game. Game number 2 will begin right now. Gen.G up against Griffin.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one. I used to wanna run away back when I was young. Couldn't wait to go a couple times around the sun. Now I wish that I could take it back.
Griffin's chance, once again, just slightly bigger than the Gen.G one. Got to be feeling good after game number 1, too. But it does raise questions. This isn't Griffin stomping Gen.G.
No.
Some nice performances by Lahens there to essentially win them the game towards the end, but it's not a stomp anymore. This is actual competition. And Can't wait to see what happens and if Gen.G can actually pull this one back and make it a series. I certainly don't want to see another 3-0.
And I look at Gen.G's draft and I say, if things go to plan in the early game, if Edgar and Trace are sitting in the back, the head coach and the drafting coach respectively, and they nod their head at basically everything that happens in the first 10 minutes, you can roll over Griffin's draft with Gen.G's draft. If you get the 2 items on Ezreal and take bot lane turret, Ezreal and Tahm Kench come in mid lane and can rotate around. Akali and Lissandra don't get outscaled when it comes to the 1v1, you know, around 1-2 items. It feels like at 1 and 2 items, Gen.G have very much the run of this game in many, many ways. I think over time, Griffin has some great options, but Cassio, Alistair, mid lane sounds pretty bad. It's not fantastic in terms of a duo there, unless they're already super far ahead. The Victor could be exposed in a side lane against both Lissandra and Akali from behind. In terms of the early game here, a lot of blue wards bot side, so Peanut's going to make it a bit of vertical jungling, and he opens up the game with a blue buff steal. Sejuani predictably loses basically every skirmish to most jungle opponents, kind of similar to a Zac, maybe slightly better. And because of that, she's going to go for the least selfish route possible, top side full clear for level 3, and no look at a scuttle till a bit later.
And you can see the way they set that up too. Kyve puts a ward on their blue buff, and Lee Sin doesn't go through the bottom side. He hops through the dragon pit, so goes undetected for now. They see him getting the Scuttle Crab on the bottom side with blue buff, so they know. But good setup here by the side of Gen.G to make that 3 buff happen.
Still min-maxing his route, so he walks up and says, if I see someone on blue, I'll go there straight away. Doesn't, so just goes for his wrap to clear for now. So always so interesting when you have these mismatches in the jungle in terms of skirmishing. Tarzan, like we mentioned, level 3 can be gained 3 camps only if you include the Krugs, which are frustrating for most champions. A lot of AoE onto the W there from Tarzan, so happily clears out the top side. He's going to get a scuttle as well. Fly's not going to walk up too far.
Picks it up there, Peanut. Ping comes down, sees Tarzan. Tarzan's hanging around, actually. With that pressure in the top side, said, hey, wait, I can get in here and actually pressure here. Let's see how he does it.
Doesn't have any backup just yet. He's going in 1v1. Gets a smite. Yeah, baby.
What a read there. Just knowing that the Lee Sin was going to go straight for that camp and says, nah, that's going to be mine.
And it's much less about the 86 gold, because it's not like you're denying boots away from a Predator jungler. It's about the mind games. And both these junglers have had fun mind games. We had a series where Lehens was hovering a last pick Shaco for his jungler, and we had Peanut walking up to his old teammate Smeb and just putting down the Rift Herald in range, saying, you're Ryze, you can't interrupt this, deal with it, basically dabbing on his face. So a lot of pride between the two. Speaking of junglers, Tarzan's here. Well, it's a difficult gank to pull off when there's vision available for Gen.G.
Yeah. It's going to feel good, especially for Tarzan, who had to give his blue buff away too. He catches up a bit in XP as well. Would love to hit level 6 as fast as possible. Ends up now showing his face down in the bottom side. And I want to see how Peanut responds to that now. Having that extra information is going deep into the red side jump.
And I want to see how Chovy pulls off Irelia. And the reason why I say that is, if you think of Chovy's champion pool for a lot of the big games, it was basically BDD 2017. Roamers, tanks, Aftershock abusers, Scion, Galio, these sort of picks. He was quoted in an interview, obviously a very young player, only turned 17, and could play in Riot System in March of this year. So youngest player until the KeSPA Cup introduced some new names. And he was quoted in an interview saying, I was really disappointed that when I was given champions that can carry, you know, the 1v9 champions, the 1v5 champions, I played too defensive. I was a bit awed by the situation. I didn't push for advantages like we're seeing him do now. And whether they can win game with Chovy on Irelia, they moved away from these picks as we got closer and closer to playoffs in the summer season. So it's cool to see him on them again. BDD took his time getting on top of the carry champions, the selfish champions. Let's see if Chovy can put in a big performance in game number 2 on Irelia.
Yeah, I mean, as you were mentioning, right, maybe the early game is all right for the Lissandra, but it still doesn't feel like you're dominating the lane or anything. You can survive the all-in from the side of Irelia, but Chovy just picks up cleanse and makes sure that she can't be held down and still has that very annoying kind of assassin range that Irelia will have in pretty much any mid lane.
You take cleanse, you have your W, you're just not dying to a gank, and while Lissandra farms and can shove in Irelia for a time, annoying things can happen, like deep freezes where Lissandra has to get into 300 range to Q the wave that Aurelia can look for an all-in on. Teleport comes in, this is just to secure the scuttle. Nice little choice there from Life. I don't see enough supports do this, but if you go on Sealed Spellbook, come back in and get an objective with your first back. They guarantee the scuttle is there. So we knew that Tarzan was topside, but that doesn't mean that the play is not smartly coordinated. Upside is the one you do worry on, and that's why you see Sword adjusting the build. Much harder to get away with an Iceborne Gauntlet. In this matchup, Abyssal Mask is what we usually see to deal with the all-ins from Cuvic.
Tarzan only level 5 here, but waiting in the wings, actually, for a potential play in the mid side as Fly hits level 6. And they have pretty much no vision on the bottom side river. It looks like they have the one ward, but not 100% sure about where the Lee Sin is. So, like just the check-in there by Tarzan, goes and picks up the red buff. We'll see if he can actually hand over the blue buff this time around, or will Peanut try to make his play on in there?
Seeing the TP come in, and Peanut's going to come at the same time. Tarzan's around mid lane, but level 5.
Okay, they're waiting for it now. Tarzan in position. The all-in comes on the Fly. Immediate cleanse by Toby. Didn't even see that ultimate pop out. Now Tarzan getting on top of Peanut, saying, "Nuh-uh, I'm going to win that jungle fight."
He actually pinged level 6 off a minion right at the end there. So smart of Tarzan not to get too greedy, try to burst him out and maybe steal away a Raptor Pit. Peanut himself still around. A control ward here, so Tarzan.
Still going to be really hard, especially as Lissandra gets pushed in. Doesn't have her ultimate kind of burst combo. Obviously, no Proto Belt, and actually not much AP in the build yet for Fly. As I said before, just essentially surviving in the lane.
No big hyphiness, no summoners in terms of flashes blown in this play. You always worry that Chovy gets in his own head and tries to go over-aggressive, given what we were talking about, with him trying to increase his aggressiveness on picks like Aurelia. They back away, level 6 on that final minion. So Tarzan was already walking away, so that was kind of very unlikely to be a faux pas. Speaking of Tarzan, though, as we jump around in terms of the overlay here, just helping Chovy push in. As topside for now is going just fine for Sword, but level 9 approaches, and anyone who's laned against Akali's newest form knows gets damn frustrating to face an Akali. Once she gets the extra pushing, the sustain, it all really ticks up with 5 points in Q.
We've seen so many victors get bullied up in the top side. We'll always remember Noguri just going 1-7 in about 25 minutes, and we'll see how he does. Lahen's looking for an engage here with the Tarzan we mentioned. Level 6 for Tarzan, maybe looking bottom side. This time around, though, is going to be seen on a ward on his way out, so they know he was going for the attempt.
It's also a very conditional gank against Cleanse Tom Pitch, so not a lot of good options there. You're going to, at most, be cycling a Cleanse out of the build, so like we mentioned, nothing happens. Actually, if you look at his options, kind of not the best, right? It's more of a 5v5 Sejuani game rather than just parking it down a lane. Akali, unless her Shroud is down.
Oh, Fly.
Fly walks up. He's all alone here.
Okay, trying to interrupt that one, but Fly is able to get on out. The stun comes in, though, and Fly has his flash. Is going to ultimate himself. Can he get away? Kick goes on to Alistair. Here's the Abyssal Voyage saying, "We will support you." Now they want to turn on a Tarzan. That Electrocute comes out, and now Viper comes in, the ultimate. They're not going to go the miasma into the stun, but there is the cleanse by Life immediately. Can they burst him down? There goes Chovy. He wants 2. He will get 2. Can he get out alive?
He will.
He will get out alive. Lahenz even has his ultimate, and Chovy with the masterful follow-up. No Ezreal on the kill. There you go. Griffin up 2-0.
And there's the killer instinct that Chovy was reaching for, but never quite was able to grasp on the Aurelia during the regular season of LCK. Those are the moments that can separate you. We're going to watch this extended replay. Fly's on a bit of a walk, but he knows that he's Lissandra with all his tools up. He thinks he'll be fine. The Permafrost into the ult there. You don't get all the passive procs, but you get the entire CC. Does the Sejuani. The kick is much earlier from Peanut to actually disengage Lahenz at the start. Tarzan doesn't use his summoner here, and Chovy and Viper as a duo say now's the time to go.
That's so nice, the combination of the miasma and Chovy getting on in there. Looks close, and you think maybe Chovy went too far, but he knows his range. His flash is on in, and he even gets out, which is the most impressive thing to me.
It's a bit of a swag walk. He doesn't need to dab. The play did it for him. Lovely stuff from Chovy. They were aware of the ultimate there from the Ezreal. the lack of fall down damage on champions means you really have to always consider a competitor before where you got away lucky more often than not. We back away, and Chovy's got 2 kills, and Fly's life in the lane is getting worse, and we know that in the long lane, it's going to be hell on earth.
I mean, he's already down about 20 CS. He can barely even finish off a Proto Belt here soon. It's just not a good feel now that you're going up against a 2-0 Irelia. The entire lane just accelerates and gets to that advantageous point for the Irelia, as you were mentioning a bit earlier.
But it's even worse than that, Valdez, because it's the lane, but not just the 1v1, but all your wards in the side brush, all your jungler's priority around mid lane that was there when you could just shove in Irelia and she couldn't take an aggressive trade. All that's gone too. And the flow-on effect to the game state means that mid-priority, you know, the biggest buzzword of casters in the last 2 years, mid-priority, is now suddenly gone, even though it's a ranged Lissandra matchup into Irelia.
Chovy's so smooth on just throwing out the stun as he's dashing in too. You can see he's got a lot of practice on this one. And, well, you can see where their kind of tier list goes as well. They were prioritizing the Scion for Chovy in game number 1 as it wasn't banned, but this time they go onto the Irelia. Still looks really good for Chovy, who's trying to make a name for himself as the guy to look at, even more so than Tarzan, at least in this game.
The thing that we talked about when we had Damwon versus GRIFFIN was this is the next generation of the LCK. This is the evolution past all the previous names that people honestly come to the stream for. They come for Faker, they come for Mata, they come for Score and Smeb. These are the names that have had years to build up, but the people that watch Summer were there and stuck around week on week to see players like Chovy and GRIFFIN develop. The next generation is here. That's what GRIFFIN had. They weren't good enough to actually lift the trophy, but they did lift basically a lot of people's hearts and expectations for the next generation in Korea. And now Chovy, who you wanted to say most recently was, yeah, okay, we know him. We'll put him in that Scion Galio box. He's not going to stay in a box, and GRIFFIN aren't going to give away a free Rift Herald.
Control comes in. Can the smite steal come in? Yes, it will. Tarzan able to pick that one up. Lehens goes in with the headbutt. Still has his ultimate. Picks up that Rift Herald. Will they go for the fight, Lehens? Looks like he's in too much trouble. Doesn't even matter that he has his ultimate, but fantastic trade anyway.
Sejuani flashes over the wall, gives him the salute, and says, your life was not in vain. Goodbye. The Rift Herald was picked up by the Sejuani, and it's only a death on the support to pick up the Rift Herald, and that was kind of the best-case objective for Gen.G on the top side. This is all about timings. We mentioned that there should be no Rift Heralds after the changes, where if you get it early enough, you cash in and get 320 gold across a couple. 2 important smites, one goes each way, which is a nice thing to say. Come into the second game. The military salute from Tarzan on the way out says, goodbye, noble cow. Your life will not be in vain. Juve continues to trade well and has a CS lead topside, but he was supposed to be the underline on some mid-game strategies. We talked about how much we liked Gen.G's draft if early game went to plan. We now know the early game hasn't gone to plan, and the underline is now actually the main win condition for the side of Gen.G.
We're gonna have to wait here before we get into the next one. Nice little ultimate there. You saw that Tarzan was even edging up towards the top side, but no ultimate, no flash after that nice little play that they do get on in here. Can't wait to see Chovy pop off on another big one on the Irelia. It's feeling good so far. Plates are down here in the bottom side. Ruler, unfortunately, with the little push he's able to pick up. Not able to get any plates this time around.
14:55, like you mentioned, and the Rift Herald is stuck wave clearing under turret, so it's very important that the Alistar isn't unleashed on the map, because right now it's looking like one of those depressing Rift Heralds that we shake our heads and wonder if Shelly's life was worth it after all. Peanut's here, Viper's Summoner's up.
Lands the Q, baiting it, waiting it out, and does not come in. Nice respect there by Peanut. There's so much to stop him making that play.
Chovy walks up and then halts the moment that Tarzan reveals the control wall, because he knows that his exact timing will be revealed. Fly.
No stun is able to land, but they will not be diving here. Probably getting the call down. Okay, little Hex Flash coming in from Lehens, but here's Peanut once again. The ultimate too early from Viper. Now they're looking for the cow. Will they go in on this one? The answer is no, as Tarzan makes his way down to the bottom side. That priority in the mid lane too. Here comes Chovy.
That was a lot of restraint when they had a teleport advantage. They still did not think they could 4v4, despite the fact they would be there first. Surprising, I guess that was a clear call one way or the other that went for a defensive play. Chovy backs away, no kill gain. As Fly, he still has his glacial path, he'll be fine. And that also gives the breathing room for the Rift Herald. I'd have to watch it again and slow it down and VOD review it to be fully confident that it was right to disengage, but speaking of disengage, Hens backs away. Gen.G don't take what looked like an opening on first glance. That means a lot of headaches around the map and no gains for Gen.G as that mid lane turret is living on a prayer.
78 health. Not quite dead though, it's still standing. But Chovy with that Tiamat, still one of the champions even after the Tiamat change that will still pick it up as the Irelia mid lane is going to have the push and picks up the first blood turret to add even more gold to the pockets of Chovy.
Our learning from the KeSPA Cup so far for you aspiring junglers out there, if you're a laner, you still need lane control, you still need the Tiamat, you're still buying it on all the champions you used to before, but junglers have 100% removed it from their build because the early mainline of the warrior enchant and the gold efficiency of getting a fat stack of AD when you complete the recipe is seen as better than that extra 125 gold. You don't have the 125 gold to sacrifice. As you can see, QV continuing to have control, but not actually growing a lead. It's only 14 CS, and the turret health is about 90%. So far, Sword is equalizing this lane, but nothing better than that.
At least he's able to hold on. The Akali just kept under wraps for now.
No Hex Core upgrades at all because he had to go straight into Abyssal Mask not to die. Every Victor main knows the depression of not having your Hex Core upgraded at 17 minutes in the game. We have to disconnect to make that one happen, but it's just a reality that his job is just don't die, is what he's been told by GRIFFIN teammates.
The amount of pressure that Chovy's able to handle. Part of the reason, by the way, that he's doing okay in the top side is because he's using Chaos Storm to farm. That's just what he has to do, essentially. We saw it there. But yeah, the pressure in the mid lane from Chovy just means extra Drakes go to the side of GRIFFIN. Really nice deep vision in the red side. I don't think Peanut's going to suicide in just to try to steal a Mountain Drake, and so another one will go the way of GRIFFIN.
First Hex Core upgrade at 18 minutes, like you mentioned. Not even Doinby style, because Doinby would just drop the ult on the enemy and say, now you have to recall. This is just minions. This is just listening to a similar to analysis that we were putting out Vadas, which is, all right, now that the early game hasn't gone well, how does Gen.G win? Well, it has to be a fed Akali. Just don't die is Sword's job on the Victor this time, and so far successful on that.
We've seen so many Victors fail that, as I was touching on before, but he has not failed so far. Peanut is going to be seen. Can they land the stun? No, Peanut has the fancy feet. Life is nearby for a nearby Devour if they need it.
Just a spectator visual bug on our side. Don't worry, guys. If there was any in-game lag, we would get a pause and a podcast, but on our end, bit of visual lag there, so thankfully the players unaffected by that. As Chovy goes back mid lane, not often you'll see the 30 CS lead pre-20 with the turrets up, but that's what's happening for this Irelia, and her core is looking pretty damn good.
Jovi's just popping off right now. Trinity Force and Tiamat with finished boots before even 19 minutes hits the spot, so he's having fun. Most farm in the game too. There's just nobody that can really touch him, and even Fly was thinking about roaming up to the top side, takes away the blasting plant at least, but Chovy leaves the lane and he says, we can't even afford the 2v2 right now just because of how strong Chovy is overall.
The pressure is on other lanes now. It's on Peanut to say, we need to go top side, I'll put down a ward, you teleport. There's no good news stories going to come through mid lane, Valdez. No good news stories going to come onto Chovy. All summoners are, it's not happening. You have to make the play elsewhere. And just like when Rumble inevitably falls away in the 1v1 the top side and we call for the teleport, it's more awkward when it's the mid laner, but the mid laner needs to actually get into a side lane and make Lassandra's reliable initiation work out.
Well, Tarzan hanging around the top side, but smart jungling here from Peanut to be available at the same time. Baron has spawned now, and that's always something to keep in mind. GRIFFIN do have the Cassiopeia and one Mountain Drake. We'll see if they can open up that chance in this game.
Here comes the duo lane to shut down any turret taking. Understandable for both teams to either rotate or counter-rotate in a scenario like this, where top lane turret was falling low. They don't know Peanut's here, and yet they won't bite off more than they can chew. Wanted to also draw your attention to the fact that both Cassiopeia and Victor have gone for the early Abyssal Mask. They know about the threat of Akali and Lissandra. They're both mid-range mages. They can't afford to wait out cooldowns, so they need to be battle ready, and Abyssal Mask is the closest thing for that.
Peanut, is he in trouble? He's 3 levels down onto Chovy with Tarzan right behind him. At least the jungle levels are the same, but that's a scary Irelia in this one. Not sure if you mentioned it, but Seraph's Embrace as well for the Cassiopeia, so he's not going to be out of mana this time around. It plagued him in Game 1 and so many other games for the Cassiopeia as well, so happy to see that item choice for the Cassiopeia in this game.
Definitely not as fast. Still an outside chance, but the mana stack is very important. In a game like this, speaking of mana stacks, Ruler says, okay, things are pretty slow. Got my tier, and second tier going now. But we're so close. We're very much on the precipice of a game-breaking move, because Baron speed from GRIFFIN with Cassiopeia is pretty damn decent. It's not the fastest ever. It's only one S-tier Baron speeder, but Baron speeder sounds like something from the Star Wars universe. He jumped in the Baron speeder as he got away from Darth Vader. But Gen.G themselves have a lot of pick, and they just really want a separated fight where they get 3 members on one side, 2 on the other, and Akali and Lissandra darting around and potentially getting a lot done. GRIFFIN are just trying to square up the game, take down this outer turret, and that's a lot of bad guys around Rule.
Got Tom Kent's nearby. They're threatening it, but they know it's unbelievably hard, even with all the CC they have. Just zone him out, take another turret, take another objective, and Gen.G not really able to respond, so another positive victory here for the side of GRIFFIN, who are about 2,000 gold ahead in this game.
Here's the teleport, though. This is what Abyssal Voyage can do. We talked about 2-item Ezreal and Sword.
Okay, they're going to ultimate down Sword. Do they have a response? In goes Peanut, the flash. Not going to make it over the wall. Sword in a little bit of trouble, but they had no real follow-up damage after that, and the rotation was coming in from GRIFFIN from the top side, so they back away.
It looked awkward, but that was the perfect area to flash to, because any kick puts him into safety and away from opposition. If he flashed to the right, Akali was there to come and collapse. It's a good flash, and GRIFFIN say, well, you squared it up mid lane, we can do so too. Deal with this, Irelia.
Weird positioning on the map there. It was Tom Kent's backing at the Dragon, and Lissandra down at the Krugs as well, so Gen.G take just a weird path on the map, and GRIFFIN immediately take advantage of that. Will take another turret here.
And in all the lane swaps, notice that the mid lane CS discrepancy is getting awkward. It's getting large. 60 CS is the lead for the Irelia, and she already had the 2 kills. Now collapsing onto the Drake, but it's an ocean, and Gen.G smartly say, there's a better time than that.
They'll take the LS path on that one. Don't need any oceans, don't need any clouds, especially at this point in the game. Just give that one away. And we're still waiting for the Akali to step it up here. And another thing that's been a little bit absent, I have to say, in the first 2 games is Ruler popping off in a gigantic way and carrying his team. 2 games of Ezreal. It'll be interesting to see if he changes that up to a KeSPA in game number 3 if it gets to it. But either way, Juve going 1v1 onto Sword. Unfortunately, not able to follow up there. Still waiting for Juve to pop off. He'll at least push Sword back in the lane.
You have to be so exaggerated to make plays like that work, and in solo queue, you want to go man mode and test your strength, right? You go for the skill test against your opponent. In competitive play, why is she leading with her ult? Why is she so aggressive? Peanut must be around. What's the call for Sword? He's able to back away as that headbutt pulverize is nicely disengaged by
Ruler having a fun time on the Ezreal, and no doubt, I mean, this guy has already shown some insane mechanics on the pick, but not necessarily that same hyper carry when it does get to the late game that KeSPA was calling for is. So, want to see how this game turns out first, see if that comes to life.
We already talked about the double magic resist purchases on Cassiopeia and Victor double Abyssal Master. While the aura doesn't stack, it's about the selfish magic resist, because the other thing, just like in game number 1, we said, well, it's not Zoe Ezreal this time, it's Ezreal ults, it's double tier, so we know the ult's going to be a massive amount of burst magic damage, and then you poke people down and take the objective. The magic resist even helps in that scenario, as they can walk up, try to wave clear as a team. Their wave clear outside of Victor is very poor, and he's likely to be in a side lane, and have the magic resist not to be punished for it. So actually getting value in multiple different ways is the magic resist stacking. It's a pretty damn heavy magic team on the side of Gen.G.
We took a look at the gold there for just a moment. Understandably, Irelia is 2,000 gold ahead. They're going to go for the Baron here. We said this before, the Mountain Drake and Cassiopeia already bursting that one down, but Gen.G knows something is afoot. Lahan's on the case here. TP's gonna come in. They're trying to burst away Peanut, and they will. Smite comes in pretty easily, and they want a bit more, getting on top of Life here. And now Ruler in the backside doesn't have much. Can they get in there? Life is gonna go down. Lahan's trying to set up more kills, but look at Tovi going man mode in the backside. Takes out 2 more. Ruler all alone as well is gonna run to the top side. So 3 more kills to the side of Griffin plus the Baron.
They just can't do anything against Tovi's 1,000 gold bounty. This guy is stronger than everyone else on the map. Tarzan just needs to interrupt the back here from Ruler. He's in the shop. No. He's dead. Ruler goes down, and I think it's going to end the game. They're certainly going to get the inhibitor.
It's only QV. I think if everybody can get there in time, we're already 26 minutes into the game. 34 seconds on Ruler, and they're going to continue pushing.
Tovi looks like a smurf. He's so far ahead in this game, and no combination of 2 or 3 can do anything against him.
Well, they find QV with the stomp down there. He's going in, wants to burst down Lahan's, but a turret goes down. Life, look at Tovi. He's just going man mode, immediately bursts down that top Kent. Peanut desperately trying to stop this one, but he can't, and flies all alone now. He's going to ultimate kind of awkwardly as they're bursting down the Nexus. They want more kills, and it looks like Griffin will get another kill, another ace, and another win here as they take down the Nexus for the second time.
In game number 1, Griffin gave over 1 big mistake to Gen.G. They give over 0, and suddenly the game is over pre-30. Chovy living up to his pre-tournament interview of saying, I need to be able to take those advantages, those options when I get them on aggressive picks, when I'm not on the Aftershock, when I'm not on the Scion. And oh boy does he in game number 2. Raid boss status on the Aurelia, and oh so early, Lissandra could only call for side plays to happen that never did. And the 3-0 predictions are looking more and more on board as Gen.G find themselves on a different level to Griffin, and not on the same level, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Irelia win rate before we even got started into this game. It's 20%, 1-4. Now he adds a little bit of love to that one, up to 40%. Now it's, well, I guess it's a little bit less than that. But either way, still adds a win to the Irelia column, and in a big way. It wasn't just a win getting carried. It was Tovi stomping the early game, getting a double kill, and then owning the game from the beginning. Neither QV nor Ruler could do anything in that game to carry their team.
And again, we know another win rate. Played 7, won 7 is Griffin's win rate, 100%. So far in the KeSPA Cup. They come in favorites. They're the settled lineup. Gen.G wants as much practice as they can get, but when it comes to competitive games, this time around, Griffin get even better than what they showed in game number 1. Clean takeaway there, and suddenly, match point already. Any of those dinner plans are looking safe, Valdez, as Griffin just roll on, as we know they can.
That they do. A lot of hype into this series about Peanut versus Tarzan, but it's just overall Griffin once again stomping another team. Peanut in the pre-interview, he said, I would like to win here, but it is true that Griffin have had a lot of time to come together as a roster compared to us. I think it's showing a little bit here in game number 2. Once again, this one a bit of a stomp to the side of Griffin. We'll see if Gen.G can come back here in game 3 that we will jump to after a quick commercial break.